So if Tucker Carlson is asking you that, then he has no idea, not of Jewish history, but of history. It is so well documented by the greatest historians of modern times who describe the history of the Jews, how we came back, how we never left our hopes and our dreams and our prayers to return here. And this was documented by many great writers, whom I'm sure Tucker Carlson admires. So he should read some of them and get his facts right. Of course.
I'd like to raise with you this amazing accusation that I hear so often from the activists, particularly the activist left in Europe and in America, that Israel is somehow a colonial power, that Israel has colonized the region. Would you address why that is such a patent absurdity?
Well, you know, there's such an ahistoricism in the present days that you're lucky if people's memory goes back to breakfast. But I think if you want to go beyond breakfast, go back in time, this has been our land for 3,500 years, since Abraham came here. And it was populated by the Jewish people for close to 2,000 years by the people of the Bible. That's when the Bible was written. It wasn't written in Tibet. It wasn't written in, in Argentina. It was written here by a people that lived here. Our identity was forged here. Our faith and our very being. And here we also wrote this book of books that changed history and the perception, gave values to not only to the Jewish people, but to all of humanity. So the Jewish people lived here for thousands of years. We were often conquered by the Babylonians, then by the Seleucid Greeks, and then by the Romans, and then by the Byzantines, and finally by the Arabs. That's in the 7th century. That's 2,000 years after we came here and were populated here. And after the Arab conquest in particular, the Jewish numbers in this country dwindled because the Arabs actually took possession of the Jewish farmers' land. So it's not we who colonized the area from the Arabs, it's the Arabs who colonized the area from the Jews. Now that could happen. This happens in history, you know, tough luck. Except that the Arabs didn't do anything with it. I mean, they didn't claim it as their own. They didn't make it a separate country. It was a backwater for the Arab conquerors, and they themselves were replaced by other empires who came here. And really the country didn't come back to life until the big Jewish movement to return to our land actually took root. We always had Jews living here for thousands of years, even after the 7th century. But the real movement began in the 19th century, actually by Christian Zionists. It began in Europe, in Britain, and in the United States by Christian Zionists who said, we have to bring, if we want to bring this land, the land of Israel, back to life, you have to allow the people of Israel to come back and build it up. And that's what we did, beginning in the 19th century. By mid-century, Jerusalem already had an Arab majority. And as Jews came here from various parts of the world, we built factories, we built farms, we built cities, and this encouraged Arab migration from the neighboring countries into what is now Israel. And these people are now called Palestinians. There were Arabs before, but before they came. But the great influx and the great growth of the country began with the Jewish migrations in the late 19th century. And the Arabs who came here, they call themselves Palestinians from time immemorial, you know. No, they're not from time immemorial. From time immemorial, it's the Jews. We came here 3,500 years ago, 3,500 years, and we never gave up our claim to our land. We didn't disappear. We came back to a land that was largely barren and empty, and we brought it back to life, and we're going to keep it.
I saw a video of you recently walking the pilgrimage road, and that's the ancient road now recovered by archaeology, in which your ancestors bathed in the pool of Siloam, ritually cleansing themselves and then ascending up the half-mile path to the temple Would you describe your feelings as you walked on that road and say a word, if you will, about the role of biblical archaeology in affirming the presence of the Jews going back not just to the time of Christ, but going back 2,000 years before that?
Well, more than 1,000, actually 1,500 years before Christ. Now, first of all, look at Christ himself. I mean, he was a Jewish teacher from the Galilee. He wasn't a Palestinian teacher. He was a Jewish teacher with a Jewish name, Yeshua. His father was Yosef, Joseph. These are all Hebrew names. It was the birth of Christianity came from Jewish teachers who moved to Christianity, but they were Jews and they came from Jewish traditions that were here for over 1,000 years. And where did Jesus turn the tables on the money changers? Where? In Nepal? Perhaps in Singapore? Of course not. It was in the Jewish temple, and the same place where Solomon, 1,000 years earlier, had built the first Jewish temple, and then the exiles who returned from Babylon. You know the song "By the Rivers of Babylon"? It's a very popular song where we sat down, and we remembered Zion. Well, they came back from Babylon, actually under a benign Persian king, King Cyrus. And so they came back 500 years before the birth of Christ and rebuilt Jerusalem. And we had and built the second temple, which was refurbished by King Herod. This all happened here in the land of Israel, populated by the people of Israel, the people of the Bible. So when the Arab propaganda that permeates now the discourse in your campuses, and these illiterate people who are talking about the ancient Palestinian homeland, they have no idea what they're talking about. In fact, there weren't any Arabs here until after 2,000 years of the Jewish experience in this land, the land of Israel. And people said, yeah, but they really populated it after the Jews left. And the answer is they didn't. And you know who gives the best evidence to that? How about Mark Twain? Remember Mark Twain, right? A noted Israeli propagandist, right? I'm kidding.
Well, he
traveled
came
here
through,
in the 19th
yes.
century. He wrote the most, it's called Innocents Abroad, The Innocents Abroad. It was the most popular book that he published during his lifetime. It was more popular than Tom Sawyer or Huckleberry Finn. It just sold and sold and sold. And it described his visit to the Holy Land, among other things. And he said, we traveled in the Galilee and we didn't see a human being for the entire day. One human being. Was just barren. And then he came to Jerusalem and he said, Jerusalem sits in sackcloth and ashes. And he basically said what other travelers, Brits, Americans, French, came here in the 19th century, and they said, basically, when will the Jews come back and bring this land back to life? And we did. And the Palestinians, as I said, joined us from neighboring lands. And we never said, you have to go out. We have to kick you out. We didn't say that. We welcomed them. They came to work in our cities, the kind of migration that you're familiar with in other countries. And that's fine. But now what they're saying is, this is not your land. It was never your land. They rewrite ancient history. They rewrite modern history because they refuse to accept our patrimony in any part of the land of Israel, or what they call Palestine. By the way, a Roman name given to our land by the Emperor Hadrian, who wanted to erase all Jewish connection to the land. And this was given hundreds of years before the Arab conquest here. So this land has been the land of Israel. We came back. We agreed to have a state of our own alongside what was offered at the time, a Palestinian state, an Arab state, actually, it was called. The Arabs refused. We accepted, but we won. Now they want us to accept, after they've shown for nearly a century that all they want to do is annihilate us and not to build a state of their own. They're saying, first of all, they changed it. It's not they who attacked us, it's we who attacked them. No, it wasn't. They attacked us. That's how we repelled them. and took the land that was rightfully ours. So they rewrite modern history and they rewrite ancient history. And that lie is spread through the campuses and spread through the social networks, through bots, through algorithms. A lot of money that is put in by foreign powers, by NGOs, by Qatar, that is put in a lot of money on this and putting it on influencers who have no idea what they're talking about. This has been our land for thousands of years, and we're going to stay here, and shall I say, keep the high ground.
I don't know if you saw this, but in a recent exchange between Tucker Carlson and Senator Ted Cruz, Tucker Carlson posed the following question. He said, "Are you saying that the Jews of today, the Jews in Israel under Netanyahu, are the descendants of the ancient Israelites who are described in the Bible?" What is your answer to that question?
Of course, it's not a question. You don't have to have, if you want DNA and compare it to our ancestors and some of the burial sites, you'll see it. There's no question about it. We've had, where did we materialize from? I mean, the Jews spread from this land to various parts of Europe, to the Middle East and elsewhere. But we never forgot this land. We said, next year in Jerusalem, next year in Jerusalem. Now, my great-grandfather came here in the 19th century. Actually, he came from the United States. He migrated from Europe to the United States, and then from the United States to the land of Israel. That's 100 years ago, more. It's 120 years ago. No, 130 years ago. And believe me, most of the Palestinians who are alive today came after him. What do you think he did? He built a farm. He farmed the land. He actually employed not Arab workers, but Jewish workers. But many of his colleagues did not. Many of his colleagues employed the Palestinian Arabs who migrated into this burgeoning country. So if Tucker Carlson is asking you that, then he has no idea, not of Jewish history, but of history. It is so well documented by the greatest historians of modern times, who describe the history of the Jews, how we came back, how we never left our hopes and our dreams and our prayers to return here. And this was documented by many great writers, whom I'm sure Tucker Carlson admires. So he should read some of them and get his facts right. Of course, we're the same people, and holding on to a common faith. It's evolved over time. The Jews evolved also to deal with mathematics, with physics, with medicine, with many other things. But I think it was the rigor of the fact that we were the only truly literate people of ancient times, because at least Jewish boys were instructed to be able to read the Bible. So we were a literate people, and we were shorn of any possibility in our various exiles. Sometimes we couldn't practice we couldn't hold land. We were barred from certain professions. So we were forced to deal in trade, and in trade you have to be literate, you have to deal with numbers. But also we studied not only the Torah and the Bible, we studied the interpretations of the Torah, this evolving body of knowledge, which is called the Talmud. And there's a lot of logic in there, a lot of argumentation, and a lot of questioning. And that developed a capacity for innovative thinking. And that's how Israel, that not only had the ingathering of the exiles that the prophets talk about, the great prophets of the Bible talk about the ingathering of the exiles. Well, we've ingathered the exiles, but it's not only living up to past prophecies of the past. We're also shaping the future. In many ways, Israel has become the other innovation nation in the world. It's not merely a startup nation, it's an innovation nation, which takes our traditions of innovation and questioning into the modern technological world. I say the other because I think the United States is there with what they call Silicon Valley and its successors in the United States. We're Silicon Wadi. It's called Valley. Okay, we're Silicon Valley in the Middle East, and we've developed things that have helped all of humanity. Medicines. That cell phone. You have a cell phone, Dinesh? You have a cell phone?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yep.
A lot of it is made in Israel.
Yeah.
In developments that are in Israel. Medicine that you take that saves lives from Israel. You eat cherry tomatoes?
I like them.
Maybe you don't like them.
I like them.
Okay. I happen to not like them that much, but they were developed in Israel. So it's food, medicine, agricultural development, drip irrigation. How about, you have a direction in your car, the system?
Yeah, the GPS,
Which one do you have?
I'm not sure which one we have, but it's a navigation system built into
that navigation system that has changed the world for everyone in Israel. We just had another company, we're developing AI, developing all these areas that are changing humanity. So we are very proud of our past and the fact that we were able to overcome all the opposition in history to come back to the Jewish land, but also to seize the future. And it's a rare combination. You see that in Israel. We're very proud people, very proud of our past, but also very confident about the future. And we've had to protect ourselves against those who want to annihilate us from day one. Maybe Tucker Carlson forgot that. The Arabs rejected a Jewish state, or rather a Palestinian state, in the partition resolution, the UN partition resolution of 1947. They attacked this embryonic Jewish state, which is maybe 1/1000th of the combined area. Not 1%, maybe 1/10 of 1% or 1/2 of 1% of the entire landmass of the Arab countries. They have vast lands, vast cornucopia of oil and gas, natural gas. Well, we have this tiny little area, our patrimony. And in this land where we live next to Arab citizens in Israel who have full rights, the only Arabs in this very broad area who really have complete democratic rights, the citizens of Israel. But from day one, the Arab countries tried to annihilate us. They tried to annihilate us right before 1967. Egypt, under the dictator Nasser, flooded the Sinai with his army, 100,000 soldiers, and Syria and Jordan joined, and they were going to wipe out the Jewish state. They said that openly. And we beat them. We repelled them. And that happened again in the Yom Kippur War. They had a surprise attack on us. And it happened again on October 7th. They invaded us with the worst massacre conducted against the Jewish people since the Holocaust. So that's what our history has been. On the one hand, regaining our ancient ancestral homeland. On the other, developing a state that becomes a juggernaut of technology and development, but at the same time, keeping a democratic society in the face of enormous attacks of countries that want to annihilate us every day. And we've been able to repel them. And as we repel them, we started making peace with them.
Let me ask you, if I may, about this issue of civilian casualties, because the critics will say that Israel has killed far more civilians in retaliation for October 7th than were killed on October 7th. What would you say to that?
Well, I think you killed a lot more Germans than Americans were killed in World War II. That's an understatement. I think by a factor of at least 10 times more, but more actually. And the same is true of Japan. Japan attacked you in a surprise attack in Pearl Harbor, and they killed, I don't know, a few thousand Americans. Take a look at what happened there and how it happened. You know how that war ended in ways that no one suggests should end here. I mean, it's the bombing of Nagasaki and Hiroshima. I mean, so that's a ridiculous way of looking at things. And by the way, we're not carpet bombing Gaza. If we wanted to, everybody's saying you want genocide. We can carpet bomb Gaza in one afternoon, and of course, that would be a horrific number of casualties, and we don't do that because that's not our policy. Our policy is aimed to eliminate Hamas but using the tactics of war that effectively no Western army has used. And I'm saying, I'm not condemning them. I'm not judging Churchill, contrary to Tucker Carlson. I think he saved Europe. I think to paint Hitler as the aggrieved party and Churchill as the villain is absurd. I mean, it's absurd. Okay, he's doing that to, I'm very proud to be in that same category. That if that's what he says about Churchill and Hitler, then he's got the whole thing reversed, and he does. So the idea, the problem that we had was that we sought to roll back the invasion, this violent massacre by these monsters who murdered 1,200 of our citizens, raped our women, then killed them, beheaded our men, burnt our babies, took over 250 hostages, grandmothers, grandchildren, to the dungeons of Gaza, where they hold them and starve them, and killed some of them. Who is Tucker Carlson defending here? Who is he defending? I mean, these are people who chant with the Iranian patrons and their colleagues in Hezbollah, death to America, death to Israel. And why do they say that? Because they're after you. They want to destroy Western civilization. They want to destroy everything that America stands for. The open society, the liberties, the freedoms that you have, they detest that. And they say, what's standing in our way? Israel. They say Israel is a small Satan. The big Satan is America, okay? And they want to destroy the Jews here and the Christians throughout the Middle East. The only place where Christians are safe in the Middle East is in Israel. Not tolerated, welcomed. They participate in our society. We take care of the holy places, which are destroyed everywhere else. Churches blown up throughout the Middle East. We fight, we hold these values as precious, as eternal. We have a Judeo-Christian foundation. And that's why the whole idea that that MAGA stands for being against Israel and basically being for Iran. And as we fought this battle, first against Hamas and then against Hezbollah and then against the murderous Assad regime, all of them were hit and brought to their knees by our action, and then went against Iran. What were these critics saying? They were saying, oh, you're going to get World War III. Oh, and if America comes in, Israel, or me specifically, pulling them in to have American troops on the ground, you're going to have horrible things. America is going to send thousands. It will be buried in the Vietnam swamp of Iran. What nonsense. What nonsense. This was an action done primarily by Israel, all these stages that I talked about. And we took on Iran. And the great friend that we have, who has none of these confusions and none of these distortions, President Donald J. Trump, the greatest friend that Israel has ever had, he understands that we're fighting a common enemy. Iran wants to destroy you. We stand in their way. They want to develop intercontinental ballistic missiles tipped with nuclear weapons to destroy you or blackmail you. We stand in their way. So we took out, with the precision action of the Israeli army and the Israeli Air Force, we took out their commanders, their nuclear scientists, a lot of their missile sites, and President Trump joined in a magnificent effort, pinpointed, precise, with American pilots and these big birds, these B-2s, and we joined together to remove this threat of annihilation against us, but also ultimately against the United States. Iran is seeking to develop now ICBMs that would reach 8,000 kilometers, and they only have to add 3,000, and they reach New York, Washington, Boston, Miami, and then into inside America itself. So we're fighting your enemies. We have common values. And you can see that. These people, including Hamas, including Hezbollah, and first of all, Iran, they kill Americans. Iran has killed and wounded thousands of Americans in Afghanistan and Iraq with their IEDs. It tried to assassinate President Trump twice, not once, twice. It bombed your embassies. It killed 241 of your Marines in Beirut. It burns the American flag. Who are these so-called defenders of MAGA defending? They're defending the worst enemies on the planet against America. They're not MAGA. The people who speak of MAGA, they love America and they love America's values, and they don't identify with the worst enemies that America is facing today in the world, with tremendous violence and tremendous savagery. That's what we're facing today. And I'm very proud of the fact that Israel is the front line of this battle of civilization against the barbarism that threatens all free societies.
It's 2025. America's debt is over $37 trillion, and the dollar just had its worst crash since 1973. That puts your savings and your family's future at risk. That's why we trust Alpha Omega Gold, a company that stands unapologetically with Israel and supports Stand Tall Israel. Visit ao.gold/stand to claim your free precious metals wayfinder guide, or call 1-855-426-4653 today. Protect your future before it's too late.